Hi, my name is Hector Acuna, and in this video I'm going to show you a new art fair wall display that I came up with for an upcoming art fair and festival in a few weeks in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. So the festival is called the Midsummer Festival of the Arts, and it's organized by the John Michael Kohler Arts Center in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. The festival is going to happen on Saturday, July 15th and Sunday, July 16th. So it's a two-day event, and I was at John Michael Kohler Arts Center a few weeks ago just to plan and prepare for the event along with four other emerging artists in this year's cohort. During the meeting, I started to visualize what kind of outdoor mobile setup that would fit in my van, but that could also house a lot of paintings during the event. So I kind of came up with this sort of like larger fold-out sign design that would be 6 feet tall and 4 feet wide. And that's basically what I ended up basing my design off of, so it's collapsible and easy to transport in and out of my vehicle. Once I had this initial design figured out, I redrew my idea at a little bit larger of a scale, just so I could start to figure out where my support cross bases were going to go and how it might look compared to a 2x4 foot table that I'm also going to bring for the event. So here's the display. As I said, it's 6 feet tall by 4 feet wide. And if you come closer, I'll show you what it looks like on the inside around here. So you can see that on the inside there are sheets of sandy plywood that are 1/4 of an inch thick. So this is not a very thick dimension here, but it's a very lightweight and stable plywood. So I went to Home Depot and had them cut down a 4 foot by 8 foot sheet into a 6 by 4 foot sheet. And both of those became the walls of the display. From there, I cradled the back of each one, much like I would a panel for a painting. And then, it's hard to see from there, but on the top of both of the walls, we have some upcycled or repurposed door hinges that are really sturdy and stable. So it's definitely gonna be strong enough to hold both of these walls. I added some cross braces along the middle. That way the walls wouldn't warp. And then I also added a vertical support beam underneath this horizontal piece on both sides as well. And that's really in place to help support the weight of this 6 foot by 1 foot bar kind of benchtop table that just slides in between both. As you can probably tell, underneath here are some like 1 by 1 inch hardwood pieces of wood to hold up the shelf, but it also allows me to then bring both sides together to a certain point and just adds a bit of stability to the whole thing. Originally, when I came up with the design, I was thinking about adding some carriage bolts and hardware like wing nuts to bring together these different pieces of wood. I don't think I'll end up doing that for this middle shelf here, but I'll most likely end up doing that here at the bottom where this cross piece is currently sitting. And then underneath that, you can just see an extra block of wood that's roughly 2 inches by 4 inches, and that helps lift everything up off the ground. Down the road, I'll probably build a kind of like carpeted mobile cart that everything can sit on top of, that I can then move around much more freely and easily. You know, this tabletop is going to be really useful for holding signage or for selling some of my zines and small books that I've produced. It'll also be helpful for showing plants and other decorative objects as well. And then the nice thing about this open space at the bottom is it gives me a place to sort of hide and conceal all of my totes that I'm going to use to carry my paintings and other materials that I'm going to need at the event. So now if you come around to one of the two sides, it's exactly the same on both sides. Each wall has been stapled with a relatively affordable gray carpet that I also picked up from Home Depot. I purchased a 6 foot by 8 foot roll, so it ended up being the perfect size for both sides of my display. I just cut it right in half along that 8 foot length, and then I stapled the canvas around the outside. So it's not glued down. That way, if something ever happens, like it needs to be replaced or it gets too loose, I can always replace it down the road. But that roll of carpet was only $25, so it was pretty affordable. And then you can kind of see I have some of these Velcro clips that I'm using on the display. These are clips that I picked up back in 2015, and I've only used them a handful of times because I've rarely done art festivals or needed to display on carpet walls, but I initially bought them for a studio tour that I was a part of. On one side, they have a harsh Velcro material, and then the back side is pretty smooth. Basically, what you do is stick the Velcro side onto the carpet, and that whole area ends up gripping on the carpet and forms a really stable and sturdy bond with the carpet. And then on the smooth side is a little hook that you can hang a wired painting off of. And the best part about these is that you don't need to use any screws or nails into the wall that you've built, and they're very easy to move around and make adjustments to your display during the event. As you hopefully start to sell paintings, it's a lot easier to move things around. And if you're interested in buying these, I'm assuming this company is still around, but the company that made these is called Pro Hanger, and they're based out of a city in Texas, but there's the contact information. That's their information on the back of the card. So feel free to take a look if you're looking for carpet hanging hardware like this. Once I'm ready to set up my display, I can take my carpet squares and I can either hang them so that the hook is at the top of the square, or I can flip it upside down so that the hook is at the bottom. I tend to keep the hook at the top, mostly because my wires often are really close to the top of my frames, and that helps to hide the carpet square so it appears as though the painting is floating on the wall. Just like this. So this is what each painting will look like as it's displayed on the wall. Something else I forgot to mention earlier is that to help hide those staples and just to protect the carpet as I'm transporting this wall back and forth to events, I added a short, like 3/4 inch wall around the entire face of the display. And then on the sides of the walls here, I also added in, I think these are roughly 2.5 inches by 6 feet birch plywood pieces to cap off the ends of the walls, but also to give it a nice clean look as well. So the face of each wall was painted with a gray that is really close to the color of the carpet that I painted with a latex paint from Home Depot as well. In total, I think I spent maybe $100 or $115, somewhere in there, to build the whole display. I should note that some of the wood that I used inside to cradle the walls was wood that I already had laying around. So if you had to purchase that, it might be closer to $130, depending on the size and scale that you might want to build one of these in. So I'm really excited to set up the display for the first time in a couple of weeks over at the Midsummer Festival of the Arts. If you're in the Sheboygan area during those 2 days, I hope that you'll come out and see my work and say hi. If you're not, expect to see a video in the weeks after the event sharing how everything went and kind of showing the display in action during the event. Like I mentioned, for me, the reason why I designed these specs to the size that I did is so that it fits into my Ford Transit Connect van. So the 4-foot width is just below the maximum height that I can slide things in and out of the back of the van. So for me, this worked out really well. Maybe if you don't have a van, there's ways to come up with a similar setup that's a little bit smaller. But in general, I hope that this video was useful, especially if you were like me and you're looking for something that can allow for a lot of paintings to be on display, and a very lightweight setup that is somewhat mobile friendly. So thank you so much for watching the video. I hope that this was helpful or useful or entertaining. My name is Hector Acuna, and thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day.